Get my 6. What's up, everybody? Welcome back to Homesteading Off the Grid, the most popular channel on the internet that has absolutely nothing to do with homesteading. So today's video has to do with, I'm going to read you some stories, creepy stories from True Hauntings, Volume 3, Personal Stories of People's Experiences with the Paranormal, Supernatural, Cryptids, Aliens, and UFOs, available on Amazon in print or Kindle. Autographed copies available from our Etsy store. Links are in the description box below. But first, before we get into the stories, I'm going to try to read 3 stories for you. I'm going to give you 3 ways in which you can be more lucky or be luckier. Yes, this is something I heard on the radio this morning. Psychologists were actually studying luck, because you'll hear people, I hear it all the time. Those of us who work in social media who are successful often hear from people who have made half attempts at it and didn't see any early success, so they quit. And then they write those of us who actually did the work for long periods of time, often over periods of years, without even being able to pay our bills, having to work other jobs while still doing this full time because this is what we wanted. They'll attribute our success to luck. Whatever, you let it go in one ear and out the other. But it seems like the only people who have a tendency to believe in luck are people who would feel as if they don't have any, because they've not really succeeded in too many areas. And they never made the connection that success is a result of persistence and consistency, stick-with-itness, not giving up when the chips are down. So they call it luck. So here are the 3 ways in which psychologists have determined you can increase your luck, for those who believe in it. Number 1, believe that you're going to have good luck. Believe you're going to be lucky. Because this will give you an attitude that instead of not doing something because you're thinking of all the reasons why it won't work or all the things that could go wrong, you'll believe, well, I might get lucky. And you might actually succeed. And then you might actually believe you did get lucky. So basically what this translates to in realistic terms is optimism. If you have a can-do attitude and you believe you can, if you make an effort and you make that effort and you hit pay dirt, you succeed, it works. So that's number 1. Number 2 was shake things up, is how they worded it. They said, do things differently. You know, if you always have the same routine, you do the same thing every day, and things just aren't working out for you, well, guess what? Like when you're fishing, if you're not catching any fish on a particular bait, it's time to cut bait and switch bait. Try a different bait, right? Same thing when you're making efforts to be successful in life. You're doing the same old. Shake it up. Do something different. Do some things you've never done. Basically, what this translates to in... there's a big, very large, they're doing road work up the road, replacing a bridge, and you're hearing some of the trucks go by. Sorry about that. It means get outside of your comfort zone. Okay, people will get comfortable doing particular things day in, day out. Well, this comfort leads to stagnation. You've heard people talk about being in a rut. If you're in a rut, get out of that rut. Do something you're not comfortable with. Remember, I've said it before on this channel, success lies on the other side of your comfort zone. So that's what that means. If you get out of your comfort zone and do things differently, you might have different successes because you've never done these things, and then you can attribute that to luck if you want to, okay? Whereas the psychologists and people who are successful and understand business and success knows that basically you got outside of your comfort zone. And then thirdly, where are you putting your focus? Are you putting your focus on your failures? Are you putting your focus on the things that did not work? Or are you focusing on the successes you had? Because if you focus on your successes and they called it, have a short-term memory is how it was worded. If you want to be more lucky, number 3 is have a short-term memory. By that, they mean forget about your failures. Forget about the things that didn't work out. Don't waste your time making excuses as to why it didn't work. Quickly let it go. Focus on the next attempt. I coach basketball, and that's what I tell my kids. When they miss a shot, if I see them starting to get down, or, my son's a quarterback in football, and we have other quarterbacks, if they throw an incomplete pass, they throw an interception, and they start to get down, I say, stop, head up, think about the next pass. Or in basketball, think about the next shot. You've got to think about the next one. and believe, like in step number 1, that you can be lucky and you'll get lucky. If you focus on the failures, that's going to lead to a negative attitude. You're going to be pessimistic and you're not going to get lucky. So really what these 3 key points boil down to is be an optimist. Don't be a pessimist. Get outside of your comfort zone. Be willing to do things that make you uncomfortable. In the book I recommended here the other day, did a video of a book review, Who Moved My Cheese? There's a question in there that they ask, imagine what we could do if we weren't scared. A lot of times people won't get out of their comfort zone because they're in that rut. And even though they're not seeing success, they're comfortable. It's scary to go out there and try something new because a lot of people pride themselves on their intelligence. They like to give out this persona of being the smartest guy in the room. They might go out there and deal with things they never dealt with before and find out they're not quite as smart as they claim to be. And other people might see that, and there goes their facade, We see that a lot, especially in middle classdom, I guess you would call it, or people care so much about their image or what other people think. They become masters of the lie of omission. They'll give people just enough information to get them thinking a certain way. And then once they see that the people are thinking down that track, they don't give them any more information. And then if they ever get called out on whatever it was these people were led to believe not being true, the people who lied through omission are able to say, I never said that. And they're not being dishonest because they didn't. But that is because they care more about what other people think or how other people portray them or the image they put off than they actually care about their own joy, their own happiness, their own success. They'd rather give the image of being successful than to actually go out there and just be successful. Because what might people think if they actually see them working hard and failing over and over and over? So anyway, I hope that can help you. Be an optimist. Don't focus on the failures. Focus on the successes. Now, with that said, I've already taken up 7 minutes, but a lot of people say they like the life advice of these videos too. Let's get into some stories. I don't know if I'll have time to read you 3 now, but remember, continue to get my 6, okay? Yes, I already see, yep, there, it just stuck back behind the tree again. Keep looking and timestamp it. So, you know what, I'm going to read it. This one is called Grandma's Coffee Mug. I think I may have read it before. I'm not sure. But we get like 5,000 new viewers every month. So there's a lot of people here who wouldn't have been here maybe a year ago when I read this, or 6 months ago, whenever it was. Submitted by Amanda Givens. Hi, Kevin. OMG, I was watching your video you made recently, the one where you are walking around your field showing where the bucks rub their antlers on your trees, acting like you didn't know what was going on. And when you told the story of the grandmother's chair, it reminded me of something that happened when I was about 12 years old. Let's just say this was in the 80s, and yeah, I'm old. Come on now. I think I was 12 in the 80s. Yeah, we're not that old. Listen, we can't help aging. It happens. But we can help how we age. Get active, eat healthy, stay fit. I was talking to Dearly the other day, my beautiful bride. I think most people don't know what it's like to feel good because they never felt good. Now, they felt young in their youth, and when you're young, I mean, but as they age, they never started taking care of themselves. You think of adults my age, I'm 50 here in a couple months. Think of all the folks who never exercise and never have. It's a struggle just to get to work every day and get home, and when they get home, recently I heard that 1/3 of U.S. adults, the thing they have in common that they would like to change about their life is that they would like to exercise regularly. And the biggest reason they gave for not doing that is because they don't have any energy. After they get home from work, they just don't have the energy to go to the gym. They don't have the energy to jog. I do it in the mornings. I ran 5 miles this morning at 6 a.m. A lot of people think that if they do it early, they won't have the energy to get throughout the day. The reality of it is the better shape you get in, the more energy you have and the more you can do. So anyway, okay, Amanda Givens, we're 50-ish. We've been around a while. We can't stop the aging process or facts of aging, but we can change how we age. Get out there and get active. And I mean, I feel as good as I did when I was 30 because I'm as active as I was when I was 30. All right. So I grew up in an area where most people don't get out much. Since you're from Appalachian, as you call it, I know you know what I'm talking about. Yeah, I just kind of did a wide brushstroke of it. Where I'm from, I'm not stating where because I don't want to be accused of judging because I'm not. I'm just stating facts. Almost no one ever goes anywhere. Seriously, it's like 95% of the people never travel further away than the county in which they were born. I actually heard you refer to this in an older video as a mosquito effect. Yeah, mosquitoes never travel much further than where they are hatched. And so a lot of people will never travel outside of like the area where they were born and raised. That's called the mosquito effect. Anyway, my grandmother, my mom's mom, fit this description. I remember talking to her about this just before she died when I was 12 years old. Why would I go anywhere when I can just watch documentaries about it on the Discovery Channel, she'd say. This is back when the Discovery Channel was new and everyone was touting it as the biggest money saver ever because people wouldn't need to take vacations. I was talking to Dearly about this the other day too, because we've been to Asia, I've been to Europe, and we're talking about places we want to go. Greenland, we want to go to Greenland. You'll often hear people say, well, there's enough for me to see right here in the U.S. Well, then you say, okay, so where's your next trip? I ain't got no plans to take no trip. Well, where was your last trip? I ain't never took no trip. Ain't got no money, can't afford it. Whatever. No, you don't want to. If you want to, you will make it happen. People will make anything they want to do happen. People only make changes in their life, though, when they're uncomfortable. So whatever it is you're doing right now, you're doing it because you're comfortable doing it. Stop lying because no one else believes you. All right, on with the story. I never shared this idea of the mosquito effect with my family or the folks in my community. It was just one of many reasons I believe I was never accepted and always felt like an outcast. I was alienated, at least by my peers, as much as I felt alienated due to my own thoughts, dreams, and desires. I just couldn't get excited about the simple things they got excited about, and I couldn't understand why they didn't find fascination in the ideas that fascinated me. Traveling to other states, other countries, eating foods we'd never tried, learning to speak foreign languages, etc. Anyway, I'm going on and on, but I'll also go on a bit further at this time and point out that I think this is one of the things that has drawn me to your YouTube channel. Two kindred spirits, born perhaps not out of time, but certainly out of place. Like you, I've long ago left my home of origin, and I live in what I call my adopted home, Seattle, Washington. I used to live out that way. Nice area. I just could never get used to the rain. There's a day and night difference between Seattle and the podunk town I'm from, but it's very much a welcome difference. So, now that I've rambled on like you do in your videos, let me get back to my grandmother and this mug of hers. My grandmother, to my knowledge, only left our state once in her life, and it was late in life. I have a cousin, a guy named Rob, who was her favorite grandson, and if you ask me, her favorite grandchild, period. I was never jealous, but I didn't care, because I didn't care, but I know a lot of my other cousins were. Anyway, when Rob got out of high school, he joined the Marines. Like me, he always wanted out of where we were from too, but unlike me, who had supportive parents who told me I could do anything I wanted to do, Rob's parents sucked. They were very negative and downtrodden. They convinced Rob he was a loser and had no life options other than manual labor or the military. Sadly, Rob believed this, and he chose the Marines as an escape more than anything. He did well for himself while he was in service, and he made our entire family proud, except his asshole parents probably, by serving in both Iraq and Afghanistan before retiring as a major. He now works as a civilian contractor and, to my knowledge, makes more money than anyone else in our family, including me, and I'm not hurting. Anyway, Rob really wanted Grandma to be at his Marine Corps basic training graduation. He'd gone off to boot camp at Parris Island, which, as I know you know, is in South Carolina. This would take Grandma across a few state lines for the first time in her life, and as much as she didn't want to cross state lines, I can look back now and see that she had a severe social anxiety. She didn't want to let Rob down, so she went. She had to travel south, and she figured since she was going to do it, she rode with Rob's parents, by the way, she was going to do it right. She made sure they left a day early so she could stop off and spend at least one night at Myrtle Beach in South Carolina. Grandma had never seen the ocean, and she said that if she was going to do so for the first time, she was going to do it right. She was not going to visit the beach on a military base where people trained to support the New World Order. Yes, Kevin, you and I come from such similar backgrounds, it's scary. She, rather, was going to see it from what she referred to as the most popular beach in the world, Myrtle Beach. Well, not sure about that. Probably the most popular beach in Myrtle Beach, South Carolina. Anyway, while Grandma was at Myrtle Beach, she bought a coffee mug as a souvenir. She always said it was nothing more than cheap Chinese shit made by children kidnapped by communists and enslaved in a sweatshop with the words Myrtle Beach stamped on it and marked up in price. But she absolutely loved it. Strike that. She cherished it. Which is probably right. No one but Grandma was allowed to use her coffee mug, and it's the only mug she used the last year and a half of her life. We used to tease her about it and tell her we were going to use it. She would actually hide it from us if she knew we were coming over. She didn't so much hide it as place it in the highest cabinet in her kitchen. If anyone else uses my mug, it'll just end up broke, is what she'd always say. If she did use it while we were there, she was always sure to wash it immediately afterward. And as she put it up in that highest cabinet in her kitchen, she'd say again, if anyone else uses my mug, it'll just end up broke. Kevin, I want you and anyone who reads this, yes, you have my permission to use this story in any way you like, to pay very close attention to the way she worded what she said. This is verbatim. Every word is exact. She never claimed that whoever would use her mug would break it. She never said she was afraid that if someone else used her mug, they'd break it. What she said exactly was, if anyone else uses my mug, it'll just end up broke. After my grandmother died and we had the funeral, my mother, my cousin Rob, and myself were in her mobile home picking through her things as we were boxing them up and moving them out. We'd almost boxed up everything when Rob said, "What about her mug?" He then went to the cabinet, the high one, where she'd kept it. Sure enough, it was up there, clean and stored away. "I should use it," Rob said. We'd brewed a pot of coffee and had been drinking it off and on while we'd been working. "You'd better not," my mom said. "It'll end up broke." We all laughed. "No," Rob said. And then he poured himself a cup of coffee into the mug. Mom and I watched in awe as he drank it. When he was done, he rinsed out the mug and placed it back in the cabinet where it had been. "See," he said, turning around, smiling at us. "Kevin, this God that so many people blindly worship as my witness, we heard..." Okay, "Kevin, this God that so many people blindly worship as my witness, we heard a popping sound come from inside the cabinet." Rob had closed the thin wooden door after he'd put the mug back. At the sound of his popping noise, we all just stared at each other. "Was that..." I began after a very long moment's silence. Rob turned around and opened the cabinet where he'd placed Grandma's mug. He tippy-toed, reached in, and with both hands, and pulled out the mug in shattered pieces. "Kevin, I have no way of explaining how this happened. I am a rational, educated woman. I actually have a master's degree in psychology. And for the life of me, I cannot come up with any reasonable explanation as to how the shattering of that coffee mug could have happened. However, I guess I know one thing. Grandma had been right the whole time. If anyone else ever used her mug, it would just end up broke." The end. Wow, that's creepy. I just got some chills. Hopefully you did too. So again, these as well as my other books. I'm telling you, if you've never read my books and you want to know which one to read first, read The Lunatic. Now, it's got a lot of curse words in it, a lot of adult situations, a lot of alternative lifestyle stuff. But I'm telling you, the day and age in which we live in, you need to read the book The Lunatic because there's so many of them out there. Anyway, hope you enjoyed that story. The other two, maybe I'll come back and do those later and put them up for you tomorrow. If you saw anything, him or it or they, make sure to timestamp it so others can see it as well. See you for more next time here at Homesteading Off the Grid, the most popular homesteading channel on the internet that has nothing at all whatsoever to do with homesteading.